Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I'm Brad, here with Doug.
Hey.
It is officially December of 2024, which means it's the end of 2024, which means we need to talk about all of the amazing video game stuff that happened this year with Game of the
Yay.
Year awards. Yay!
Woo! The most prestigious of our awards that we give.
Yeah, I don't know if we're better than the Game Awards. We probably are, but
Definitely.
nobody
Definitely
puts us on. I mean, we'll see if we match like 15 million views, but we'll see.
Yeah, we rank the games that we played, which is going to mean, why didn't you put that on your list? Because I didn't play it. That's why.
I did top out. I actually, because I keep track, I think I had 27 games from 2024 that I finished this year, which is like a record for me in the last 5 or 6 years.
I'm very happy. And if going by our PSN statistics, it's likely I played about a third of that. So.
Yeah. I thought this year had great games. I had a really tough time making a top 5, which we'll talk about when we get there. But I had a very tough time narrowing this down to 5 games. So there's just a ton of games that are really, really great this year.
Yeah, I feel like it's a very solid year. I think coming off of 2023, like it would be impossible for any year to kind of like go up to that one. But it wasn't like I thought like after 2023, I was it's going to be a down year. It's like actually no, there's some really great stuff, really strong indies, really strong AAA, which is like what you want. So I was like, yeah,
I think a lot more stronger like niche things. Like I don't feel like there was that like God of War Ragnarok where everybody was like, oh my God, God of War Ragnarok. That's like Rebirth was there, and Silent Hill 2 was here, and Dragon Quest 3 and Metaphor, like lots of stuff that's just not everybody is going to be into, but we're just fantastic pieces of their genre and of their style.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the way we do this, we've got a few categories: best something, best character, best world/setting, best game we didn't like, best game we didn't finish, best game we played from not this year, and then finally the top 5.
Yeah.
So we both picked these. We don't share them ahead of time, so it's a little bit more fun to see what on earth the other person's thinking.
Yep.
So to start with, best something, which is basically whatever stood out to you this year, anything at all. We've had some weird answers to this before, so your best just thing that you were like, oh my gosh, this was better than anything ever.
And to really start off on a high, the best description, the best depiction of religious guilt in a video game goes to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, to Indica. Indica, like, absolutely, just like, I won't go into it too much. That I just follow the review of that game. That game like blew me away and took a topic that I just had not seen done in video games before. I wouldn't say it's necessarily like the best one in media. I'm just like in video games that I've played for however many years. Like that was just a really neat game that tackled something that I found very personal in a really cool way. So I just thought that was just really awesome. It's that kind of like, oh, there's still sort of like topics and stuff that videos can explore. Like I also played Venba this year, and it's just kind of neat. Like when you're playing a game, even if you don't necessarily like love that game, just like, oh, we could be doing more with games. We really could be doing more. But,
there's more story and more feeling you can get out of this.
Yeah, exactly. Just other topics to tackle. I thought Indica did a really good job of expressing religious guilt compared to other games I've played.
Rebirth, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
So to turn this completely around from religious guilt, my best thing is best mechanic.
I figured we're hot off our. Let me guess. We are hot off our Indiana Jones review. So no, please continue.
So if you want to know a thorough description of this, I did ramble for about 2 minutes about this in our Indiana Jones review. Is Indiana Jones in the Great Circle? Indiana Jones picking up his goddamn hat. It is my favorite moment I have had in years in a video game, and the most pure joy I have felt just watching some form of like legacy sequel, remake, whatever, of just like, oh my gosh, you did it, and this is incredible, and I love it, and I'm so happy right now watching this happen. If you haven't played Indiana Jones, basically what happens is you get knocked out, you're crawling on the floor, you pick up your hat, you pop that thing back on, camera pans, like fades into Indiana and a big old smirk on his face, dusts himself off, we're back at full health, ready to go, so your hat's bringing you back to life. If you know Indiana Jones, you know about a hat. It is just one of those things that just blew me away. It was like, who thought of this, and why is that person not directing every game that is being made right now? Because it is the most piece of genius use of a weird quirk of a character I've ever seen.
So what is that your best what? Is that your best continue system? Your best like becoming back to life system?
Best game mechanic, best moment.
Best game mechanic period.
I'm gonna go game mechanic. I think game mechanic, yeah.
ever. That's really funny. I would say jumping in a video game. No,
No,
no. Andy
I
loses
would,
his hat.
the only thing we need from the new Mario game is some Mario's hat get knocked off, and he pops that thing back.
I, I can see that for some. I can see it in my mind's eye. I do see that very
I,
clearly. It's very funny.
I
Yeah.
definitely think that could happen for sure.
Mhm.
So moving on, next up we have best character in a
Mhm.
game this year, which would be
My favorite, I guess my best character, favorite character, All Mother from 1000X. Um, I
yep.
was a 1000X. I don't think I was as hot as you were on it, but the sort of main character of All Mother, which is essentially a not so great teenage girl who becomes the most important person on the planet, and they don't stop being kind of a shitty teenager. And it was just a really, really neat character that you like followed through that you followed through the game. I think it also because some of the things she does is like as like a crappy teenager put into like an important position, you could
Hmm.
see yourself falling into some of these
Oh,
things after.
100%.
So there's this sort of like weird guilt but understanding of the character and stuff. It's just like a really neat character because you're like I don't know. I feel like at some point you're like waiting for the turn where she's not going to be like a really shitty teenager, and she kind of always is sort of kind of a she
Yeah,
like there's reasons why she is that way, but it's not like she has this amazing change of heart or anything. I thought that was
for
really
sure.
cool.
And I think too, just the way that they like reveal information about her just makes it
Mhm.
even more engaging because you're constantly just getting little tidbits of this through flashbacks, through flash forwards, through just weird things that other people are talking about. It takes a long time to really fully develop that picture of her,
Yeah.
and I think that really adds to how great of a character she is.
Yeah. It was just a really neat character. Again, like my thing with like all this usually the stuff I like in video games is something I haven't seen before. And
Yeah,
that was just a character type I had not seen before, much less being a main character that's the one that's driving the plot forward. So it was really cool seeing that.
yeah, that was like on my list like two or three. But the one that
Really?
really sticks out, yeah, the one that really sticks out to me is Max from Life is Strange: Double Exposure.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, that's fair. Oh, that's totally
So
fair. Yeah, yeah.
she comes back after like years and years of this, and I think with this game, I kind of had that like. I feel like we get it. Like people our age get a lot with like Toy Story, where it's like, oh, like Andy grew up with us. Like it's kind of that same thing
Oh,
of like
sure.
I played this, like I played the original one, and then it's like, okay, yeah, but like we're just going through like late high school and college, and now you're seeing like, okay, young adult Max, and you're kind of just seeing this growth pattern
Mhm.
with her. So just seeing where she's at. I think it's like 8 years after the first game, the way that she's interacting with people, the way that she's grown from the first game to now, the way that she handles things. It's just she's such an interesting character, and like how she has to deal with these powers, deal with the consequences. And I mean, a Life is Strange game like live or dies by that main
Yeah.
character. And playing the other one, she's just so clearly the best main character in those games, and she just
Oh,
drives that
interesting.
game so hard that like it takes a game that I probably don't like to
Yeah,
a
I
game
was
that
gonna
like
say.
I actually like really like this, but Max's character in and of itself is done so perfectly. The rest of the
Mhm.
game is a wreck. It's a mess.
That's funny.
But
Yeah, sure, yeah.
playing that game and just even those first few hours, like when the game is really great for the first few hours, really bad for the last few. Those first few hours is just it's this comfort factor. Like, oh my gosh, like you did so much good with this character and you moved this character
Mhm.
in every right direction. Like every choice that she's made from the first to now makes sense to me. And it was just
Mhm.
really, really good. Loved her originally. Still think she's a great character now in the second game with her.
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome. It's always interesting when you say when you like bring those characters back after like a period of time. I mean I usually like it, but there's definitely been periods where you're like, this feels off of like whatever it is. But
You
it's not like
should
no,
have
they
just
actually
let it be.
yeah, but it sounds like they actually did like kind of nail like what she would be like in 8 years. That's really cool. It seems like a hard thing to do.
Yeah. So not a new character, but I feel like there's enough evolution of the character
You
that
don't
it's
have to
almost
justify
like
anything to me.
I feel like I do because if you've listened to prior ones, Doug always gives me shit for pulling stuff like this. So
For pulling
there's enough
characters who are already
evolution.
pre-existing. Yeah, I mean, there's like the heart of the thing versus the law. I mean, I get it.
But also, All Mother is great too. That probably would have been my other one. So
Yeah.
there you go. Best world or setting. So again, just
Mhm.
that, yeah, just best kind of place to inhabit and see what's going on in this place.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to give you too much shit for that because my favorite world is the world of Final Fantasy VII.
I was wondering. I was like, you held back very nicely for that, and that's impressive. Okay, well, here's why. Okay.
Yeah, well, okay. So I mean, I think
Because
there is
this is
something
okay,
new.
no, because I have two qualms really quick. Number one, this is a complete remake of a different world, and it's
Sure.
a continuation of another world from like 3 years ago. But
Yes,
continue.
that's fair. No, that is totally fair. Before, if you listen to our previous Game of the Years, I always give shit to Brad for talking about stuff that was like actually came out many years ago, and I was like, well, this year I really did like the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, so I'm not gonna really. No, I think so. I mean, so I think the thing of like the thing I really liked about the world of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is that it is so primed for shenanigans, which is like
Yeah.
so like I guess one of my favorite series is Adventure Time. And the reason I really like it is because it has this sort of like cornball fun attitude where like a lot of interesting things can happen. And then when things get serious and that tone like shoots the other way, it's like okay, suddenly things feel like way more serious because we were playing like a goofball game before. So I just like really like sort of like goofball settings that can get serious. I think that Final Fantasy VII really just inhabits it with that tone, and then also it's like a cool world to facilitate. Like this is like one of the few games like I think I 100% it. As far as like doing all the side
Mhm.
quests and stuff, just because I really liked just finding out about this world. I really like seeing all the characters interacting with each other
Yeah.
in this world. And there's always like some kind of like cool new thing that you're learning about the world or you're learning about the characters. And just like,
Hmm.
I just really liked how, especially, I would say like even more than Remake, what Remake was like a little bit more serious. Had like one or two goofy sections. This one just like really kept like a really fun, kind of like jovial, fun tone, like
Yeah.
for the entire game, which is like really cool. And it's just like, and I think that really is what feels like Final Fantasy VII, like the original one. And I was just like really cool seeing that tone in modern games because you don't really get it that often, or done that well. You get Borderlands, which is not, which is not exactly, that's maybe turning the dial too hard one way. But
Yeah.
this is like just a really cool, nice balance and just a really interesting world with really interesting characters all over the place. So yeah, the
And
world of
Golden
Final Fantasy.
Saucer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's like a world that has like golden saucer and then like really harrowing end of world stuff. It's like it's just really neat that world facilitates both those, and you believe both of those things can happen in that world.
Absolutely. So for mine, I held off on All Mother for the prior one because it's 1,000x resist for the
Oh,
best
funny.
world. I was literally like,
Nice.
I can't go that and that back to back. So I was like, okay, I'll hold off. I like the world more than I like All Mother, and I think that's because
Sure, that's
just
fair.
you
Yeah.
get this very cool world that you have these flashbacks that are really grounded in like this family struggle, and then we're in
Mhm.
this garden where everybody's kind of just this, essentially like Fallout vault of like these 5 or 6 characters who are just stuck there
Mhm.
trying to explore the world, trying to understand what's happening. You're getting, these weird time loop things. You're trying to figure out what's going on. Just everything about where the place that you're inhabiting is such a mystery
Yeah.
that kind of peels away back in very meaningful ways and at a perfect pace, and just you're always kind of discovering something new about this world. I mean, you're probably 80% done with this and you're like, holy crap, there's this other place that exists in this whole thing, and
Yeah.
like there's other, and just some of the end game reveals of what's happened to the world. It's a very cool way to kind of explore this post-apocalyptic event that you're kind of dealing with in this game with these characters. So I really just enjoyed learning about the world, learning about what had happened, trying to figure out kind of the rules of it. Like, what are the
Yeah.
rules of these people? What are the rules of when certain things happen and certain things are created or moved or changed? How is that affecting the greater picture? So just the world they created in just such a simplistic way is just mind blowing to me.
Yeah, it is crazy how much that game did with very little in the way of like art assets and stuff like that to create like a really compelling place to learn about. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, man. That's interesting. Huh. I still like Rebirth more, but that's a really good one. I didn't even consider that one. Like that's really good. Yeah, that was
I
such a cool setting. That was such a
That
cool
game is just
setting.
it's so good. So good.
It is really good. Yeah.
We'll talk more about it later. Um this is always a weird one. Best game we didn't like. So just something you're
Yes.
playing, you're like, I understand this game is great, but I
Mhm.
don't want to play more of it.
My favorite game I did not like is Silent Hill 2.
Wow, really?
Too spooky. Too spooky.
I was gonna say, I literally bought and played that game because you wouldn't shut up about how good it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. No, So you could check out a review. I always say, "Well, check out a review of this." But like, long story short, like I enjoy Silent Hill, but it's like, hey, you already have a bad time. It's like a really good game about having a bad time. So it's just a I get super stressed out watching some horror stuff. Not all horror stuff. I like horror sci-fi. I'm totally fine with, but there's certain horror stuff that just like really gets into my bones. Silent Hill
Hmm.
just as a concept really gets into my bones. So
Yep.
like playing this game, truly, truly, truly dreading for me like the entire way through. So I'm like, I don't know if I even like this, but I did enjoy it because I also play with my dad. So it's like a fun bonding experience in the way like a really good horror movie is for some folks. So
But
yeah,
but just that uncomfortable feeling of like, yeah, because you texted me a couple times. I think again we talked about it, but I think I beat this game in like
yeah,
5 days, and you beat this game in like 6 weeks.
yeah, yeah,
And
so, yeah, yeah,
I think after like me having bought it for like a day and a half, I'm like, I'm here, and you're like, you're further than me already. I only play it for 20 minutes at a time.
yeah. It's Resident Evil 7 was the only game that was kind of like that, where I could like really only play it for short periods of time, and it's like this is absolutely one of those. And that's the thing. It's like even as I was getting further, like I was like, do I even like this? So ultimately, I said I didn't like it, but I did like it in the way of like, I guess like people like Hereditary. It's like, do you love Hereditary? Is it a great time watching Hereditary? It's like, no,
Get your
it's a horrible
popcorn
time.
out. Like,
Yeah, it's a miserable time playing that game. Everybody should try it.
it's fantastic. I love that game.
Yeah,
Um, Mine is, and I struggled with this just because I really didn't feel like I played anything I didn't really dislike. I didn't have
yeah.
anything that was like really like oof. But mine would be Metaphor Refantasio, which
You bastard.
which
No, I know why.
I love. I love JRPGs for whatever
Yeah,
reason. I have never been able to finish or really get into a Persona game, and I was really hoping we dropped the high school and maybe that would be the thing holding me back.
yeah.
I played, and admittedly, I only played the like 6 hour, 7 hour, 8 hour, whatever like the trial
That's
demo
enough.
first
Yeah,
thing was like. I finished that, and it was just one of those. I finished, and I was like, I'm getting Persona feelings. I'm getting those same feelings of like I'm gonna put 15 hours in this and just want to walk away. It looks great. It's super engaging world. I'm curious about the world. It's just one of those where it's just like whenever I play those games, I just have this feeling of like something's not clicking for me, and I can't
yeah.
ever put my finger on it. And whatever Atlas is doing over there with these, it's just not my thing. Despite the fact that I could play every Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, list your JRPGs, this is like the one that just like sits with me. And I was really disappointed that Metaphor didn't like. I was waiting for it to be like, here it is, let's go. I'm
Yeah.
finally going to be in on one of these, and it wasn't.
Really funny. That was my other one I didn't like, and I'm like 20 hours into it. But like I do want to see it to the end. So like I don't know. I don't. It's my thing was like I'm not so strong on it that I didn't like it, but like I have some qualms. I have some qualms with it. um, but yeah, no, and my reasons are totally different because I do like that system and all of that. I just like currently the place where I'm at with it. It's like it's too straightforward in terms
Mhm.
of like the themes that it's doing, but I think the world kind of needs like you're straightforward on how to be a good person. Like we could kind of
Yeah,
use that right now.
we
So
could
that's
always
yeah,
helpful.
that's kind of where I'm at with it. Yep.
Oh, I feel like we're kind of doubling down on this. Like, yeah, I almost thought that one. Anyway, we're weirdly in sync this year, which I feel like doesn't
Yeah,
happen
no,
very
usually well, yeah, yes, that is true actually. We played a lot of the same games this year. I don't know if
That's
that's like
true. That
more
might be the
indicative of the
problem.
year or what. Yeah.
um, Best game we didn't finish for whatever reason, dropped it, didn't have time, whatever. We tend to try and only focus on reviews and stuff of games that we play all the way through, get to credits, all that. So something that we probably didn't get a chance to talk about this year. Best game we didn't finish.
Yellow Taxi Go Vroom. I don't think I've talked with
Interesting.
you.
Okay.
I don't think I've talked with you about this game like
I
that
think I got
much.
like one text message.
It's a really so there's this so I do kind of want to play on a reviewing game, so I kind of want to hold my thoughts on it like a little bit. But Yellow Taxi Go Vroom is like I'm so glad we're getting into like the PS1 era of indie games because like
Yep.
Super Nintendo stuff did nothing for me. This is just like it's you play as a yellow taxi cab in a sort of pseudo platformer slash crazy taxi like game.
Okay.
It's super fun. It's got a really crazy aesthetic that like I think some it can be a little off putting for some because it's like so in your face, but it really reminds me of like renting PS1 games as a kid. It just really really captures that aesthetic but has like really good controls on top of that. So it's like that perfect sort of mix of like, yes, this is what you thought PS1 games were like in the past. I had some issues with like how difficult the game is. So, which I'm not going to go into, which is like one of the reasons I didn't
Mhm.
finish it. But I do
Yep.
plan on getting around the game. I think that's a game like some people will like really enjoy. It's just like a super cool. I love that, just like a good PS1 vibes Dreamcast era game that like yeah, that was really cool. And like the reason I didn't finish it is like it's really hard in like ways that I don't think are fun hard. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
I feel like that's one
it's
of those
basically.
things where like you would think a yellow taxi go vroom. This isn't going to be a difficult pain in my ass.
Do you know how like Mario can do kind of like additional moves that you don't ever have to use in the game, but they're like
Yeah.
cool kind of complex things you can do for fun? It's like, what if you did have to do those things? Like Mario's probably not going
Oh,
to be as fun. So there's like really complex like moving mechanics that they have in the game, then they expect you to learn them. I was like, man, your game would have been so much more fun if it didn't. That doesn't mean I am going to finish it though, and I'll probably do a full review of it at some point.
nice.
Yeah.
Look forward to that.
Mhm.
Mine we will be reviewing at some point as well. Fantasian Neo Dimension.
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah,
actually
yeah.
like I'm only like 15 or 20 hours into this. It just came out a few weeks ago. And as I'm playing it, I'm literally like, this might crack into my top five had I finished it.
Yeah.
It is so good. It is very much like straightforward PS1 era turn-based game that looks beautiful for being an iPhone port.
Mhm.
Just the way they did the
Sure.
settings, they're like dioramas, they're so cool. And the story is this weird, like world bending, multiple worlds layered on top of each other. This machine world's coming and creating chaos and taking it. So much crazy stuff happening. Your character opens up like having no memory of all this after like being kicked out of this huge, crazy cyborg robot world, and then you land in like classic Final Fantasy town in the middle of it, and they're like, "What the hell is going?" It does so much cool stuff. It has the solution to random encounters, which is basically you can stack them. So as you're playing, you just like boop random encounter, and it just adds up a number. And whenever you want to, you do this big, crazy, fun battle of like you versus 30 enemies at once, and it's
Mhm.
so much fun. It is such a cool game. I have heard the back half is nowhere near as strong as the first half, so we'll see
Sure.
what happens. But 15 hours in, I'm
Yeah.
having a blast with it, and I absolutely love it.
Mhm. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, actually, I remember. I think I played that a little bit of that game on iPad like 2 years ago or something like that. I was
Two or
like,
three years
man,
ago,
Brad would love this game. And I was very happy to hear that you did love this game.
yeah. Yeah. Um, okay, best game from that 2024. So something we didn't get to last year, which basically probably means it was a game of the year last year that we just never found time for. So
Yeah. This might have been my favorite game this year was Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. Um,
I've already played that this year.
yeah, that was so cool. That was like there's like there are scenes in that game that I just think have like in that sort of genre of like picking dialogue scenes, like in a Telltale game sort of thing.
Yep.
Like to me, there are scenes in this action RPG that are stronger than like some certain Telltale games where like that's the point of the game is those kind of conversations. Um, so it was just really cool, and it was just a super fun, intense game where I think it was really fun to role play as kind of an asshole, and then like an asshole in these situations where your allegiances are changing and you're the one who feels more active in changing the allegiances. There's a point in the
Mhm.
game, and I mentioned this in my review, that I was just like, I don't think I've ever seen this like in a game before, where a character is talking in a very intense situation who I very much trusted this entire time, and they said something in the dialogue like just before that, like I caught. And I was just like,
Mhm.
wait a minute. Is everything I know about this character actually wrong in this moment? And now it's a life or death situation. Like, what am I gonna do? And like, we're like
That's cool.
pausing the game and going like, okay, what am I gonna do? And like how that story pans out was just like it's really beautiful in like a really sad and really slow and like I like it. I'm saying it's slow positive because you think a game like Cyberpunk or like action shooting
Yeah.
game would have like this really bombastic ending, but like I love how slow and just how very not cyberpunk, but just kind of like in Black Mirror's like it's like too reductive, but just those things where like it just ends poorly in a sad way,
Mhm.
and I was like, It is
Yeah,
so fitting for how that game ended. I just like, and honestly, like I liked Cyberpunk. Like Cyberpunk, I thought was like pretty good. But like Phantom Liberty is like it's like one of my favorite games. So it's like it's hard. Like even like looking at my list here, I'd probably put it like top top two maybe of games I played this
nice.
year. Maybe the favorite game this year. But yeah, it's just
I
it's
don't
cool.
believe
It's like
that. I know what your top game is. I don't believe that.
as I said, top two.
That I would believe, but it's definitely not your top. I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
well aware of what your top is going to be.
Yeah.
Mine was Alan Wake 2. This was one of those
Oh
games
yeah.
I pushed off. I pushed off for I don't even know why. I don't know why I pushed it off, but I
Mhm.
did. It's fantastic. I don't think you can say enough about how unique it is just in the way that it handles music and art and just parallel worlds, and it's just such a fun game to play and explore and learn what's going on. I mean, there are scenes in this that are will stick with me for a long time just because of how cool they are. In terms of just how the villain works, it's such a cool world that Remedy's made between Alan Wake and Control, and this just further cements that as one of the coolest current things running right now.
Yeah, no, that's a cool game. I remember like glad you finally got around to that game. I really loved. I think that was like I was like, I was trying to go back to some of our older game of the years. I think that was like my number two, like behind Armored Core 6, which is like one of my favorite games ever as well. I really like Alan Wake. It's a cool game.
Yeah, good game and better than the first. Probably, I would say probably the best of the Remedy games. Am I hesitating? I think that's true. I think it's
I would
probably
say
the best.
pretty in my opinion, pretty unequivocally. I had like no issues with the Alan Wake 2 gameplay, so I was like, this game's amazing the entire time. Nothing's wrong with it. It's
Yeah,
perfect.
I struggle with the gameplay a little bit more. That's why I'm like, I think the kind of craziness of it makes up for that, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, top five. We'll
Mm.
go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Of course, I know it's the
Yeah.
big yay. Bleach Store 5s, Each Store 4s, so on and so forth. So
Mm.
number 5, what barely made it in.
Yeah. Well, what we do with every top five or three is like, well, the game that I wanted to add but didn't get in, so we had to talk about that first. So the game that didn't
I
make my
actually I have that written out right here too on mine, so we're good.
yeah, you're way worse at it than me. I think you're like, here's the three games that didn't make my top five. So I
It's
just
7.
oh my god. Okay, well I have one. I have one that didn't make my top five. So the one that didn't make my top five was UFO 50.
Oh,
Really cool
okay.
game. I really, really enjoy it. I still go back to that game a lot. I think once you play your favorite games in it, then it kind of like goes down after a
Yeah.
while. But I put like 30 hours. I had like a really fun 30 hours with it. And like didn't finish. I finished like I think about like maybe a third of the games or something like that.
Mhm.
But that game is just like awesome. But it didn't crack my top five because I just again like once you get past the games that you really enjoy, it's like I don't do I want to keep playing the games I didn't enjoy as much and decided not to
Yeah.
finish.
Always a weird thing
So
with like a compilation thing.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Once you're like kind of yeah finishing up, it's not as fun. So my number five goes to Silent Hill 2.
I, as soon as you said that you didn't like it, I was like, this is also going to be like your number 3. Like,
I
as
didn't
soon
want to
as
say
you're
yeah.
like,
I
I
was
don't like this game, I was like, I know for a fact that they're going to come back to this.
yeah, no, I was kind of joke about it. If I wanted to leave it as a little bit of a surprise. Yeah, no, so, I mean Silent Hill 2, like, this Silent Hill is like a really important franchise to me. It's the one that I played with my dad throughout middle
Mhm.
school and high school. Left some scarring impressions, but it was really cool. Um, I mean, it sounds really stupid, but it's like Silent Hill for a new generation. It's like I think people can now appreciate. There are more people who can now appreciate what makes Silent Hill cool and interesting and different than other horror
For sure.
games, and like why it's something that really can't be copied. Not that can't be, but it just like has not been copied appropriately.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and Silent Hill fans, I feel like we're not being crazy. It's like they just haven't gotten the right baking ingredients. Like the flour ratio is just not quite there. And this one's like, oh no, this
We
is
got it. We
Silent
nailed it.
Hill. This shit. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Silent Hill in my mind was always the boring horror game. It's the walk around horror game.
That's really
Resident
funny.
Evil, you're shooting things, you're running. It's like Silent Hill. It's like, as a kid, I was like, isn't that, you just walk around. That's boring. I don't got time for that.
Yeah, it's not wrong. It's like that's not a wrong interpretation of what Silent Hill is. Yeah.
So as per tradition, I made I would say I have a really strong top 3. There are 3 games this
Sure.
year that I'm like, these games are head and shoulders above the rest. 4 and 5, I like literally could slot any of these in. So
Yeah.
basically, I was debating between Prince of Persia, Silent Hill 2, Indiana
Nice.
Jones, Rebirth, 1000 X Resist, Dragon Quest 3, and Neva.
Oh
Those
my
are like
god.
my ones where I was like,
That
I
was your
cannot
fours
decide.
and fives?
I was debating about those for 4 and 5. That was my
Wow.
like
Okay.
group that I was trying to pick from here because I have a solid top 3, but that whole chunk there was like, I could, depending on the day of the week, I could put any of those at 4 or 5. So
But
my number
it's
5
not.
is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Wow.
For
Okay.
a lot of the reasons that you said earlier when we were talking about Best World, where it's just, it is this sense of joy playing it, just
Mhm.
exploring, going around. There's so much joy there. I was let down kind of with the story piece of it a little bit, just where it's like
Oh,
there's no
sure.
real through line to it.
Yeah.
But I had so much fun playing it. The combat is still great. Golden
Yeah.
Saucer is amazing. Just some of the twists that they do with it a little bit, coming kind of like, okay, are they going to go this way? Are we going to go that way? I think they
Mhm.
handled it really well. It's a fun game. I think that's my thing with it, where it's like I normally, in my mind, Final Fantasy is not like the fun series. Like, no, this is like a cool like world like devastating
Mhm.
thing where it's just, this Final Fantasy is just a fun one. We're just going on an adventure. We're just wandering through the world. We're in the middle chunk where it's just like, I don't know, go check out this town and see what's there,
Yeah.
I guess, guys. And I think not having anything more serious kind of held it back a little bit, but I loved it. So
Mhm.
much fun, like you said earlier.
It is a cool game. It may pop up on my list later.
We'll check back in on that.
Yeah.
All right.
All
Number
right.
4.
Number 4, Alan Wake 2, The Lake House.
Oh, we're going
I
DLC. Okay.
yeah.
Pulling the Game Awards.
You can see why I didn't. You're like, I'm usually ragging on Brad again for this sort of stuff, but no, I think people, I think a lot of people will see play Alan Wake to the Lake House and then not be like, okay, that was fine, but it was just like absolutely everything I wanted from that Control universe. Like, I just want to see what it was like really playing Control the entire time I play Control. It's like I would rather play as anybody but this character in this world because her Jesse's whole thing was like, what's going on? And then every character you met, the thing that made them interesting is that they did know what was going on. Like whichever
Mhm.
character like in the facility. So I was like, I would love to play as an FBC agent who kind of understands what's going on going into a situation. And that's just what this was. So it's like
Yeah.
of all the Control mythos and stuff that I really really liked, it's like that's the one thing I wanted to see, and they did it, and it's really cool. And like it's there was, and the thing I always liked about like the Remedy-verse stuff is that they can do a lot with a little. There is like one scene in this that I like. I'll just say it. There's a scene where a room full of typewriters, and that's it. And I remember like my jaw dropped when I saw that scene. And it's like nothing. It's like mechanically and like visually not. I mean, it's visually kind of interesting, but it's just like just the idea of what is happening in that scene
Yeah.
was so cool and such a good marriage of all the mythos they had thus far. I was like, this is incredible, and I really liked it. See, I enjoyed my time with Alan Wake 2, while Silent Hill 2 was more like just
I
constant state of dread.
haven't got to
Yeah,
that yet. That's on my list. Again, I pushed Alan Wake 2. I gotta now I push that. I don't know. I don't know
yeah.
why I feel the need to keep delaying my time with Alan Wake, but I do. My number 4, we talked about it a lot already. 1,000 X Resist.
Oh, nice.
It
Yeah.
is just amazing. Like I said earlier, the world. I think you nailed everything about the characters.
Mhm.
It's just, it's one of those pieces where you're like, there's so much to this with so little,
Yeah.
and just the feelings you get for these characters, the way these characters interact, they talk to each other, the journey that the main character goes through with this, and it's just such a cool game. It's such a unique world. It's kind of like a few years back, like 13 Sentinels, where it's just like I haven't felt like this type of story done this well in a video game before,
Mhm.
and it really was one of those games that kind of stuck with me from playing it like 9 months ago, where it's just like that was really good. That was really good. Like, oh yeah, that I remember that moment now. It just has lots of that where just as I played it, I was constantly thinking about it. It's one of those where it's just like you turn it off, and that was all I was thinking about for the next 6 hours. Was like,
Yeah.
okay, did that really just happen, and what does that mean? Which I think is a really positive thing for a game that's focused on its story. Is just that lasting feeling of like I'm constantly like debating what's going on about that game.
Yeah. I mean, basically, like all that game had was its story, and it like
Yeah.
did it. It did it. Like it's so impressive how bare bones that game is and how much it hangs on that story. And it's a really, really good game. If that story didn't work, that game would not have been a good game
Oh
at
yeah.
all. So, but it's like that story is so strong. It's like, yeah, some people should play that game. I really did like the game. Didn't make my top 5, but I did enjoy that game quite a lot.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
No.
All right. Okay.
Um, number
Number 3.
3. My number 3 is Indica. Um,
Wow.
that yeah. I
That
really
religious
like.
guilt.
I think about that game a lot. That's like it was funny because I was going back through some of our older ones, and I think is this kind of like this year's season, where
Oh yeah, yeah.
season was a game like I played that like really affected me, and I kept thinking about long after I finished it. And Indica is kind of that same way. Um, it's just besides the topic being cool, the characters are really interesting. It's again, it's one of those things that like it a lot of that game hangs on its story, and it kind of talks about really delicate topics that like I think a lot
Hmm.
of games and like creators could not do properly, and it really did. And I love the end of that game. I that like I it was almost like favorite thing, like favorite game ending.
Hmm.
Is like I really love the end of that game because I think it ends in a way that a lot of stories that deal with it and American stories that deal with it that would just be like that would not be the end of the story. But in this
Yeah.
one it is, and I felt very satisfying in a way that like and validating almost.
Hmm.
It just of how that game ends.
I remember you telling me about it, and then I actually
Yeah,
kind of went and watched the ending and just being like, yeah, I don't feel like that would be what you would expect going into this. Like you wouldn't be
yeah,
expecting this to be where this character is left and how this story is ended
yeah.
based on the premise of the game.
Yes, yeah. I think Um, yeah, validating, I think is the word that I would put it because it's like a lot of those kind of stories. That's where they end. It's funny
Hmm.
because I think if you look at if you look at people's comments on that game, people will either a think that that ending was perfect or completely unfulfilling. Which I always think is like a sign of a good ending or a good piece of art. Is like
Yeah,
some people just like completely hated it, or other people like it just really struck the chord with them. And that was one of those games that really struck a chord with me. Yeah.
absolutely. My number three is Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth.
Whoa,
Um,
that's low. I thought it was like going like number one, number two territory.
uh, I loved this game.
Yeah.
I think the other two I have, yeah, we'll talk about those in a second. But
Mhm.
Infinite Wealth is when you talk about the pure joy you have playing Final Fantasy Rebirth, that's what I have
Yeah.
for this game. It's like, no, 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 no. You do not understand what pure joy is playing an RPG until you play Like a Dragon. Oh,
Yeah.
the world's just fun and goofy. Go play Infinite Wealth. It
You
is
gotta
fun.
finish
It is
seven.
goofy. And like I was saying with Rebirth, I think kind of the thing that held me back on Rebirth is it doesn't have any like it's fun and goofy and there's no real good through line. This has some amazing moments, some of the best moments in Like a Dragon
Yeah.
Yakuza overall. The way that they handle Kiryu in this is so good. And him playing off Ichiban is just amazing. The two of them together work so well together as kind of this kind of odd couple pairing. There are a couple scenes in this game that are just shocking. Didn't see that coming scenes that work so well in kind of the Yakuza soap opera drama kind
Yeah.
of way.
Yeah.
And it's just this series over the past like 5 years has become my big dumb soap opera, and
Mhm.
I absolutely love my big dumb soap opera.
That's yeah, no, I mean, it is funny. Like it's even like the Yakuza, like they know how to tell a story. Whether or
Oh
not that
yeah,
plot is like not like I think like once you like kind of like write out the whole plot, like this doesn't quite make sense. But like how they tell that plot is always just
yes,
like so
the
killer.
moment to moment is
Yeah.
flawless.
Yeah.
Big picture, yeah, I'm kind of like, okay, is this really making sense? Where we get to some of the endings in just every Yakuza game are just like, we really went that big, huh? Like,
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
going with this. But and this one has a little bit of that, but just even like how much they give you between going back and forth between Hawaii and Japan. Like you have just giant worlds to play, and there's so much to do. The mini games are fun. The side quests are dumb, silly, goofy fun. And it's just everything about it is just it's a good time. You cannot play this game and not have a good time. I would bet money on it that it's impossible to not enjoy yourself playing this game in some way, shape, or form.
That's cool. Yeah, I gotta play. I gotta finish seven.
Or any of
For me,
them.
on
I feel
number,
like you finished like one of them.
I, I finished six of them. I need to.
Oh,
Well, no, that's not true.
I say I
I
don't think
played
that's true.
four or five of them. Anyway, I played a lot of them.
Number two,
Number two, Astro Bot, because I played a lot of that game. Number
Astrobot's number two.
two, yeah, yeah. I don't think
Oh,
you understand how much I like number one.
I okay.
Yeah, no,
in my mind, there is no way this was number 2 for you.
that's funny. No, yeah, no. I mean, I really, really liked Astro. I mean, I loved Astro Bot. I played a lot now. I play with like my toddler kind of sits in my lap, and we play it, so it's like really fun. It's actually turning kind of like the family game more recently of just
Okay, that's
like
cool.
yeah, my wife is playing through it, and then so like sometimes like and it's like kid appropriate enough. So it's a really fun kind of like family game we play together.
Okay,
And like
okay.
just listen to our review. I mean, that's again, I want to be like I'm really not advertising our the rest of our channel. It's just like
Yes, you
that's where
are.
I talk about it for a half hour of how much I
I do
like
think
that
we
game.
talked about it for a long time.
Yeah, we did.
I'm just,
Um,
I
yeah,
am shocked,
shocked.
shocked
I
at the
mean,
moment. Yes, I know what your number 1 is because yeah, but okay, all right. I
no, I mean
disagree
I
with
like
your ranking for
you
you
disagree
personally.
with my
I do
personal
agree.
preference. That's
Your
really
personal
fun.
the way you're describing your personal preference at the moment is incorrect, sir.
Okay, here's the thing. If okay, I think Astrobot is a super cool, super well made game. And no, that's dumb. I always hate when people are like, well, if you didn't have this, would I still feel that way? It's like, but it did have that, so I do feel that way.
Oh, you're talking about okay. If we didn't have the PlayStation nostalgia,
That's
would
so,
you have been as connected?
but that's so dumb because people are like, what if this VR game wasn't VR? It's like it is VR, and it's
It is
awesome
VR. So
because
who cares?
yeah,
Who cares?
exactly.
That was the design intention was for you to be connected to it in VR. Your design intention with Astrobot was for you to get fun nostalgia boosts every 5 minutes of like, oh my god, it's bleh.
And honestly, I think the only reason it dropped to number two, let's say, is I played like too much of it. I think
I
I've
could see that.
like
I could see that.
I think I've like basically played every because my toddler's like, oh, play this level. Play. I think I've played like every level like 3 or 4 times. So I just like rebeat that game like 4 times. Like, okay, I'm starting to see some of the flaws. It's like,
I feel like that's always a weird line to walk where you're like, I
yeah.
really love this thing. I'm going to keep playing. I'm keeping it. I'm like, okay,
Well, that's
maybe I
like,
should have stopped because now it's just
yeah.
boring to me.
If you see like a not recommended after 300 hours, like yeah, anything you do for 300 hours is not going to be as fun as the first 10
Exactly.
hours. Anyway, that
Exactly.
game's awesome. It's really cool. I really do like that they did the PlayStation nostalgia stuff. You know, it's weird. I know it's like not really an indication of it, but like the last Game Awards, like they're talking about Okami and Onimusha and stuff. It's like in 30th anniversary. It's like maybe we are kind of getting back to some of these old franchises stuff. And
I
I
think so.
know I think there's like a I think there's a difference between like doing 10 Transformers movies and then doing like a game that hasn't been acknowledged for like something an IP that's not acknowledged for like 20 years that was really cool back then that could do cool new things with the technology now.
Getting another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game is not the same as getting another Okami.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that missing piece where it's like, okay, a lot of these things were just non-existent for 20 years. We haven't
Yeah.
acknowledged this character even existing in 20 years. Like, okay, yep, sure, Nathan Drake's in it, great. I didn't have this moment
Yeah.
of like, oh yay, Nathan Drake, but there are characters in there where you have this moment like, oh my gosh, that's so and so. Like, I haven't even thought about so and so in 20 years, let alone the
Yes.
people making this game. It's just that's such a cool feeling.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just a lot of care put in those characters too. It's just neat,
Mhm.
like just kind of running around. It's like, oh, they really understood this. They really thought about this, and it's just neat seeing that acknowledgement. Yeah. And the game's
Makes sense.
awesome. So
The game is
on top of all that, yeah.
Yes, it is. My number 2 is Tekken 8.
What
I
the fuck? Are you serious? You know
yes.
what's funny? I was thinking because you had just finished Indiana Jones. If that was really high on your list, I'd be like, that's kind of like a recency biasy thing.
See, okay.
I didn't think
So
I didn't think
I
Tekken
did
8 would get in your top two. Jesus, dude.
I I did hesitate and almost put Indiana Jones at number 5, but I was like, I literally finished that 3 days ago. That feels
Sure.
weird to me to be
No,
like,
that's fine. Whatever.
I'm on a
Whatever.
high on the, but anyway. In the comment, Indiana Jones, not
Sure.
best.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But not Tekken
Tekken
8's
8
comment.
Tekken 8's comment is flawless. Please do not
Yeah.
knock it. And this is what I was going to say with Like a Dragon. Like a Dragon is a fantastic RPG. Had so much fun with it. But Tekken 8 might be my favorite fighting game ever.
Oh, that's cool.
Like,
Sure.
it might be my favorite fighting game. And that's why it needs to be this high. The story, so well done, so well executed. There's nostalgia bits in there. Jin's redemption, like, oh, so good. There's just everything you want in a fighting game
Yeah.
is here, and it's done perfectly. It is so much fun to play. I have gone through, platinumed it. I have gone through every arcade ending. I have put so much damn time into this game,
Mhm.
and I still am sitting here playing through Fantasia Neo Dimension, this game that I feel like should be in my top 5, going like, I was turned off and play a couple rounds of Tekken. Like, I'd rather play Tekken right now. Like, it's just sitting there constantly on my PlayStation dashboard, being like, what's 20 minutes of Tekken? Let's play 20 minutes of Tekken. It's so good. I've always loved Tekken, and I think this is just like the best version of Tekken. Probably since Tekken 3. I think I might like it more than Tekken 3. It's just it's that feeling I had playing Tekken 3 back in the day of like, how did they even make something this much fun? I'm having that now with Tekken 8. So it's kind of that like, ooh, this is like as good or if not better than arguably one of my favorite best fighting games of all time. It is amazing. I love it.
I cannot believe you put that above Yakuza. I was not thinking Tekken 8 at all. That's really funny. That's crazy, man. I mean, man, I play a Tekken game. I like Tekken games, so I don't play a lot of fighting games. I haven't played in a long time. I do. It's just I keep hearing like it's funny. I keep hearing the most recent Tekken is the best one, but like Tekken 8 did something really special. It seems like compared to even Tekken 7, which I heard was really good. Yeah,
yeah, it is definitely a step up from 7, and I think it's just one of those things where it feels like that. Always a step forward, always a step forward, always a step forward. And I think it's just like, okay, no, like Tekken 7 from Tekken 6, like, yeah, it's a little step up. Tekken 6, yeah, it's a little step up. This is like, no, this is the defining Tekken. If you want to understand Tekken, this is what Tekken is and should be, and it is incredible.
That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah.
All right, drum roll, game of the year. I think we can probably figure these out at this point.
My number one is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That game. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no. Like It's funny. I was really thinking about it. Like, I think Astro Bot is a really, really great. And this is not like value proposition stuff. I think it's a really great 12-hour game. Final Fantasy VII is an unbelievable 100-hour game to me. Everything about that game, like, I know, stop shaking your head. I love everything about the game. Like, I think like, for real, Final Fantasy VII Remake 1 was like my dream game. Like, as a kid, I wanted to play Final Fantasy games, but didn't like turn-based combat. I just didn't understand it. Even to this day, I'm not quite good at it. It makes me feel really stupid. Like, I can play The Witness just fine, but man, if you put an RPG in my hand, I just get really dumb all of a sudden. There is, it's just having the dream to me of having an action game with Final Fantasy stuff in it, and this just continues that. And I just really liked, the difficult. So I played on the higher difficulty, and they just really, really but like they just did like a lot of interesting stuff with the boss battles, a lot of different interesting things with the different fights of just like really needing to know how to use your characters, how to set them up properly. So it's just like this really perfect match, I thought, of like, you have to be good at an action game, which I love playing action games, but you also have to be really good at doing RPG setup stuff as well. And it just feels like so rewarding all of the time. And again, like I talked about before, I really love the tone. I like characters getting shenanigans. The plot, to me, like, I don't care at all about Final Fantasy VII's plot. Like, to me, it's not interesting. Like,
I think that's an important point to note here.
Yeah. Like, I just like, and that's the thing. It's like, oh, it was funny. We were talking earlier, and it's like one of my favorite books as a kid is Dinotopia, and the plot is just garbage. But like, it's all about learning about that world, and this is that kind of thing I feel about this game. It's like, it's all about learning about this world, these characters. Everybody's getting to shenanigans. Everybody's getting up to stuff that's just like so fun all of the time, or it's interesting. Or at least interesting all the time. And I think it's really important. I think it's like really hard and really important for games to be like interesting. As interesting as you can keep them like the entire way through. So when you just have like 100-hour interesting game that is just like, it was just great. Like, I just didn't want it to end. I'm like one of the few people who's like, the pacing's awesome. Like, I love the pacing of this game. Everyone's just like, I just want it to end. It's like, no, give me like 100 more side missions to do. I would gladly go explore all these side missions with these characters. So yeah.
I do think that's one of those games where I think there are definitely two sides to that, where I could see like, this is just fun, like goofy going around the world stuff, and I could understand why somebody would absolutely adore that and love that and think it is incredible. There's also the side where it's like you said, like, I don't care about the Final Fantasy VII plot. Well, okay, then yeah, that would make sense. Why the thing that's like the kind of the big knock on it's not that I have for it is not there for you, which I think. Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's a great game. It's fun. It's goofy. It's just it is a great game for sure.
Yeah, all my favorite moments of that game and the things I remember from the game have nothing to do with the plot. And yeah.
Yeah, and I don't like games like that, but yeah, I interesting. I kind of forgot too how like into that you were, because I think when we reviewed it, I think it was very much like you're like, this is the greatest Final Fantasy that's ever been made. And I'm like, it's maybe top 10.
I think it's really funny. Like, I don't think this channel would work if we didn't just like happen to perfectly like the other genres and stuff that the other person didn't like. Is like, I like Persona games. Like the only
Yeah,
JRPGs I do enjoy are the ones like they're fine.
I can't
Well,
play those. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny how it works out that way. I don't think this channel could work unless we did have those like differing tastes and stuff. But yeah, no, I
wouldn't it
love
be
Rebirth.
nice? Wouldn't it be nice for top fives were identical? It's
Yeah.
actually, now that I'm thinking about it, this might be the most like differentiated top fives I've ever been, because I think we only have two
Oh,
uncommon.
oh, this is like the most similar list we've had. You're saying, or
No,
what?
like like unsimilar, because the only two that we have in common are Rebirth, and then what my number one will be momentarily.
Yeah,
Are the only ones
yeah,
that
that's,
are interesting. Anyway,
what's your number
um,
one?
my number one is Astro Bot, and
See,
I
this to
am
me is
shocked
surprising.
and
I didn't realize
appalled.
you liked
Shocked and
Astro.
appalled
I am
that it's
genuinely
not
so.
yours.
This is the thing where I was shocked Astrobot was this high for you. I thought Astrobot was definitely coming in like third or fourth for you because it's again if you listen to I think it's the thing like you listen to our reviews. I sound way higher on Astrobot than you do in that review. So that's
I
more
think
surprising.
I think sometimes like I think our review leaned hard into the PlayStation nostalgia, which I think you appreciated a lot more.
That's true.
And to me, why this is number one is because the platforming in this is
Yeah,
just so unbelievably strong.
yeah,
The worlds that you're going to are so damn creative. There's
mhm,
so much uniqueness to it. Um, and every time like I would go through this list, obviously we're making this in December. I was thinking
mhm.
about it like, okay, a month ago. Well, we just did all the speed runs, and it's like, oh man, those were so good. Like
Oh
the
yeah,
feeling of
yeah.
using those were so good. Like I can't knock it down. Like there's nothing like I can't knock it off number one. Like this is too much fun. And I'm thinking about it again. I'm like, okay, well maybe Tekken 8, maybe Infinite Wealth, like maybe 1,000 is like really pushing. And it's like, here's Winter Wonderland, and it was just like a
Oh
joy to
yeah,
just run around this thing. So it's just every time I go back to this, I'm having fun. Again, I think a lot of these we're talking about this year are just like these are games that are fun and make me happy.
yeah,
And this
yeah.
game is fun and makes me happy. The bosses are goofy. The weird like end of world PlayStation themed levels are
Mhm.
so
Oh
much
yeah,
fun. It's so unique. Like every world you end with one. So just to spoil like an obvious one that would be there, like there's one where you are just fake Kratos, like running through God of War, like doing things that you would do in God of War, and it's so fun to see that spin on it. It's so fun to see all the different power ups you can get and the unique mechanics that those brings and how those change the traversal through a level. Just even like going through and just interacting with things that you don't need to interact with. Doing the Winter Wonderland, there's like just a thing of like bells that you can just run around with and kick around and
yeah,
they
yeah.
jing and it's fun and it's that, and this is all layered on top of, not to sound like corporate shill marketing, yay brands, but like it's all layered on top of stuff that I absolutely love. Like just these characters that I love, like, oh my gosh, it's a character from Resident Evil. This is so cool. Like, oh, that's fun. It's just this you get to this end of this super well crafted, super fun level, and you get to the end of it, and your reward is not just like, okay, cool, I get a star. It's like, oh no. I got Leon Kennedy now.
Yeah.
Leon Kennedy is gonna come home and live on my island with me, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna get him a cool accessory to play with.
Yeah.
And then just running through like the accessories and just like kicking them and watching what they do. There's so much fun to be had in this. I absolutely loved it. And again, I think I do get your point of like I could see like after 50 hours of this being like,
Yeah.
let's ease
Yeah.
back.
No,
But
I'm not saying we should play
it's
50 hours of it. Yeah. Yeah.
it's that flaw. It's that like I will take a flawless 12 hours over a
Yeah.
really good 30. And this
Yeah.
was like
That's, oh, no, that's totally true. Yeah. Yeah.
this is like a flawless 12 hours, probably like a flawless 9 hours to finish it,
Yeah.
plus a damn good 6 hours just having fun, exploring, playing, trying to find the rest of it to
Yeah.
platinum it. It is a borderline flawless game in every way,
Yeah.
shape, and form in my mind.
No, it's awesome. No, it's man, it feels it's like it feels good in a way just even outside the game of just like, oh, we can still make these. Like we can still do these games.
Yes, we
Yeah.
can still make a platformer that is unique and has fun, and we
Yeah.
can still have mascot platformers that everybody our age grew up with loving.
Yeah. And that can not just and like not it's like not just Mario. And like it's not even like Nintendo. It's like it's just Mario now. It's like that's it. That's
Yeah.
like the only that's
Yeah.
the only thing at all. But it's like no, it's like there used to be some competition. Like there really was. Yeah.
And it was fun, and everybody was kind of playing off each other, and they were doing things you didn't expect. And
Yeah.
that's what this is. And it's just it's a cool callback to things that were before in terms of gameplay style, feeling. Everything about this just feels like a callback to things that were amazing years ago, and we can still do those things and have those things and have a good time.
Yeah. Absolutely not shocking
So,
that game game of the year super awards or whatever the real ones.
the real, these are the real ones.
If you doubt it, you probably haven't played that game. Just go play that. Like literally anybody should. It's like the most easy game to recommend. It's like Portal. Like you will have a good time.
Yeah.
Anybody will have a good time playing that game.
And again, I think so many people get hung up on the PlayStation. If I don't care about Kratos, like how am I going to enjoy a game about PlayStation? Like you could 80% of the bots are just little robots. Just pretend they're all little robots with funny mustaches. Like you will have just as much fun looking at a little robot with a funny mustache, and this one got a big sword for some reason. Great, cool, whatever. You'll have just as much fun without that PlayStation nostalgia.
Yeah.
You could see everything I said about this game without having that feeling about these like random things popping up.
Yeah.
Would it be the same game without it? No. Do I think it would still probably easily be in my top 5 if not in the same place without it? Probably. Yeah. It's that good as a game in and of itself. And the icing on the cake is the feelings you get seeing whatever character pop out of a thing at the end.
Cool.
That's 2024.
Good year games. That was a good year games. Yeah.
It was. I legitimately had it narrowed down to like 9 games for my top 5. I was just like, I can't. So let me talk to you about Prince of Persia. And Neva and Dragon Quest 3, which might be like,
and like Echo Stasis did come out. And I really did like how they like concluded all like that series. I really enjoyed too. It didn't make my top 5, but it's just like I really did like that game too. Yeah, there's a lot. Crow
Country, amazing.
Oh, I did start playing that a little bit. I was like, I did start playing a little bit. I was just like, yeah, Brad was right. I probably would really like this game.
So much good stuff, but that's it. We'll do this again in a year. Otherwise, there's reviews and other stuff from us in between. But we are Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment below. There's a link to support us on Coffee as well. We'll see you later.
Bye.